cultures of greed and hatred and war, and how people can keep like perpetuating that cycle, which creates more and more greed and war and violence. And so looking at these other cultures and shamanism and ways to use these plants, how does that break that cycle? How, on a personal level and on a larger cultural level?
Well, that's been the question of war has been a question that's occupied me all my life, and I have my latest book is called The Roots of War and Domination. I was a war child. I was born in a war, and I was a war refugee. When I was 9 years old, I lived in Germany, and entire society collapsed. It's like the Palestinian now collapsing, occupying armies, destruction, buildings, deprivation, starvation. So it's been an obsession all my life. And I don't know any answers. It's very complex, multi-factor thing, and there are many peace movements and powerful peace movements and agreements that have been made for people to live together in new ways. And but you know, the principle of nonviolence is the key. And there's a planetary evolution that's going on. And I'm convinced that unless we, the criterion of planetary evolution is nonviolence and learning to resolve our differences nonviolently. If we do that, if we manage to do that, then we can enter into a larger galactic community of civilization, which exists and which is all around us. And there are emissaries from those other galactic civilizations that are visiting Earth even as we speak, and have been for hundreds and maybe thousands of years. But we can't join that civilization. We're like an armed madhouse. Great Palace wrote a book of that title. We're the lunatics with guns. We're a quarantine planet. We're a quarantine planet.
But we didn't.
I'm not the only person that says that. I mean, I'm putting Alfred Weber, he said that. And it's a lawful process. It's a lawful universe. You can't do that. You can't take nuclear weapons into space. It's not allowed. On the planet, you know, it's a free fall because it's ours to work out. Nobody's going to come down and rescue us. Not the Space Brothers and not anybody else. It's ours to figure out. And until we do, our goose is cooked.
These questions have
just after Dale's one,
people have thought deeply on this question of violence and recognizing that there's a lot of suffering that's intrinsic to life and other things. We eat other souls, for one thing. And we get sick and we die. And so some wise spiritual thinkers have seen that, you know, there's suffering is a part of it. It's intrinsic, is kind of at the core of what happens. But we have this, we add all these other layers on of unnecessary suffering. And wise people who have thought about it and think about it pick up certain dynamics that you can't solve a vendetta with getting back. It's like children. He hit me first, but he hit me first, so I have to hit him back. Right? He hit me first, so I have to hit him back. And the wise say that we can't stop it that way. And that the answer, if there is one, is by looking deeply into our own natures to find out, you know, who we are ourselves. And you know, ultimately, it has to progress on a one-by-one basis, and it's a long-term thing. And if one person can see their own nature and stop the war, that's our only hope, I think.
There was a woman who wanted to say something about the...
Not anymore.
Okay. Sir?
Most of the focus on non-animal organisms has been on the photosynthetic green plants. Of course, there are others that contribute their wisdom, and of course, I'm talking about the fungi in a number of different ways. And I wondered if any of the speakers would like to just make some brief reference to what we learned there, and also they are involved in healing some of the environmental destruction through Stamets' work. So it's a complete cycle. I just wondered if any of the...
Yeah, I just wanted to, well, I'm not going to, somebody else may want to speak of the fungi or the yeasts. But there's also, they're finding these bacteria that live in things like basalt and granite, that there actually may be a lot more biomass in this scattered thin shield mixed with rock in the planet, and that's kind of interesting teacher to think about too.